Joining me now in the TEDx studio in the Amsterdam City Theatre is bioengineer Andrew Hessel. Welcome. Let's get straight to the point here. When are we going to find a cure for cancer?
Actually, no, I don't actually say we'll ever cure cancer. What I say is we're going to treat it so well, it's just not going to be a problem.
And when is that going to be?
I think we're going to start hitting the cusp of that in about 5 years.
So we'll actually be around when it happens?
I think so.
Excellent news. Let's just have a look at who you are, and then we'll talk more.
Okay.
Andrew Hessel.
Bacteria are my favorite creatures.
Andrew Hessel is a bioengineer. He likes to play with molecules, DNA, and his computer. Thanks to the PC, there are hardly any limits.
Now that all the barriers are falling away to engineering bacteria, viruses, and much higher organisms, we're really creating a parallel biology, one that's moving at about 100 million years of evolutionary time each calendar year.
Genetic technology has advanced to the point where almost anyone can play God. Hessel welcomes you to the synthetic world where the stuff of dreams and nightmares becomes real. So, Mr. Hessel, what is your biggest nightmare when it comes to viruses and bacteria?
That's a very good question. Very good question. My biggest nightmare. I think it's people starting to apply, put this way, I say bio is the new cyber.
Bio is the new cyber.
Yeah, so I look at cells as computers and viruses as software. And so when I look at the world of computing today, I see all of these hacks, all of these little exploits, whether it's spam, whether it's literally hacking into different systems and manipulating them in different ways. And I see the potential for biology to be used in very similar ways. So actually, I think the scariest thing...
So are you telling me that you compare bacteria and viruses to spamming, for example?
Well, actually, when you think about it, viruses are kind of like biological spam spreading through the system.
Yes, you are right.
So where I think it gets a little scary is when viruses perhaps make us behave in ways that is being manipulated. We may not even subtly know what they're doing, because viruses can affect metabolism, but our brains are part of the metabolic processes too.
So could this be going on as we speak without us knowing?
You know, I think we're going to learn so much about viruses in the coming years, because really we've only given a name to about 5,000 of them, and yet we know there's billions of different species.
And they keep on changing and mutating on us and making new species.
That happens in the natural realm. But for example, I was taking a flight last year, and on planes you get exposed to a lot of different agents, and I came back and I had sniffles, and so obviously I'd picked up some sort of virus on the plane, and for the next 2 weeks I had no ambition. None. I didn't want to get out of bed. It wasn't that I was feeling ill. I just suddenly was lethargic. And I realized, wow, if we weaponize that, our whole population could be lazy.
So who could profit from this? I mean, if this is true, what you're telling me, somebody infected you with some kind of virus that made you lazy. The human is clever enough to make a virus like that.
Well,
so
yes.
Who could profit from making this virus?
Well, let's just look at two companies that might be competing with each other.
Yeah.
And if one company made the virus and infected the other one, then they'd have a competitive advantage, wouldn't they?
This interview is going a very different direction from what I planned, but it's even more interesting. So, what do we know about this environment? Do we know enough to be safe?
I think we're safe because we have this incredible defense system called our immune system. And it's pretty adaptable. And then, even then, viruses are communicable diseases. And let's face it, we're changing the way we communicate these days. Biological information actually spreads very slowly around the world. take a look at the spread of a flu, say from Asia to North America. It takes weeks or months for it to actually spread. It only takes a millisecond for a tweet to make it around the world.
So why do we call something viral if it goes really fast?
Well, viral is basically an amplification process, one to many, and then continuing to spread. So that can happen with an idea, a viral idea, but it can also be with a viral particle, which is basically a biological idea, a biological program.
Right. So, okay, so I understand that you are a fan of these microorganisms. Is that the right way to put them? Viruses and bacteria?
Let's just say I respect them, and I'm constantly surprised by them and willing to learn. Keep an open mind.
But what have bacteria done for you lately that makes you feel this way about them?
Well, they're digesting my lunch.
Yes?
You know, that's a big part of it.
That is a big thing.
We are essentially containers for bacteria. We have a symbiotic relationship with them.
It's only some that we don't like or don't agree with.
It's actually very few
really?
that cause
Yes.
us problems.
Do you believe in man-made bacteria and viruses? Do those exist, or is that just a figment of somebody's imagination?
No, we are starting to engineer them. We've been adding new traits to bacteria as part of the bioengineering work that we've been doing for decades now,
Yeah.
getting them to make different products. We've made the first synthetic bacterium that was done last year.
Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
Well, that's really it's about programming living systems.
But
and
why would we want to
it's
do
an
that?
incredible intellectual challenge. Plus, we get to design new functions into living organisms to do commercially or intellectually useful tasks.
Well, that is assuming that the people making these bacteria have the right mindset and are not trying to, wreak havoc upon us all. But what if some kind of crazy professor would come up with a bacteria and it wouldn't be such a friendly one? Then what?
Well, we do have an immune system, and first of all, we know how to kill most bacteria. We make antibiotics.
Yes.
But what would you see as an unfriendly bacterium? Give me an example.
Well, the example you gave yourself, the bacteria or the virus that makes us unhappy
but
or
those
makes
are two
us
different
lazy.
things. One's software, one's actually a computing device, essentially. Viruses and bacteria are very different.
I know they are,
Yeah.
yes, but so could there be a bacteria that makes us lazy? That would have to be a virus. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I'm just saying that most bacteria don't make it into our brain and affect our behaviors. But we do know that we have a relationship with our bacteria, and they're constantly sending messages, from our gut into our bloodstream. So, theoretically, we could have bacteria that we ingest grow in us and be presenting us with chemicals that could change our behavior. But that's pretty complicated. But who knows? Maybe we'll end up actually doing things like that and having to learn how to counter them.
And then we'll have to take into account the fact that a virus or a bacteria doesn't know any borders. So if it's an evil bacteria or virus, it could just spread.
Well, I don't think it has intention.
It doesn't,
But you're
okay.
right. These agents don't have borders, which forces us to start thinking globally in how we monitor for what's being done in bioengineering, where we put in our checks and balances, how we go and literally continue to screen and monitor the world in the ways that we do. Because right now we're not really tracking a lot of biological information. In fact, we're only learning about what viruses and bacteria exist today because of the new tools of sequencing, which allows us to kind of peek into their world at the level of genetic material.
So there's a lot more to learn.
Lots more, but we're on a very steep learning curve, and I think we're getting an incredible influx of new talent and creativity.
So maybe in about 5 years' time, we should talk again and see where we stand
Well,
then.
I think it'll be a continuous learning experience, but I'm certainly hoping that cancer is one of the things we start making dramatic progress in soon.
Thank you very much. Time flies when you're having fun.
Thank you.
Andrew Hassel, who did you really enjoy watching today here at TEDx?
Actually, I haven't had a chance to watch any of the talks. I've been in interviews all day.
Well, the good news is everything is online, so by the time you get back home, you just have to log on and you can find us there.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Andrew
Thank you.
Hassel.